Today on Locked On Suns, part one of your 2025 Phoenix Suns Draft Primer. 2 picks, 2 episodes, starting with number 10 next.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back into Locked On Phoenix Suns. I'm Brendon, Kleen, a staff writer at Awful Announcing and a credentialed Suns media member. Thank you for making Locked On Suns your first listen here on this Draft Day Wednesday. Don't forget, Locked On Suns, free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. Just click that follow or subscribe button. Do what thousands of other Suns fans have already done. Come in every day or get locked on to the Phoenix Suns right here each and every day. All things number 10 overall pick. Part one of our Draft Day Preview Primer shows. Joining me for both of them, as always, from the Wild West Valley, my fellow Suns credentialed media member, how are we feeling, Ben Garcia?
For a second there, I thought you were only giving me one show, like I was being relegated. I'm stoked, man. This is the good stuff. This is the fun NBA, NFL, MLB draft. Everyone feels like they have a chance. They're one player away, so I'm stoked, man. You and I have dove into a lot of guys. I'm excited to give some picks, some predictions, but also dissect with a couple of players.
Do you want to, we didn't talk about this. Do you want to start with our top 3 now and then get into the breakdowns, or do you want to do our final homework on the players and then give our top 3s? I'll let you pick in real time here on the air.
I feel like it would make more sense to go through the guys first, and then give our top 3 picks. But I want people to stick around to hear our top 3 picks.
We will be giving our top 3s for the number 10 overall pick in the next segment, but we don't want to talk about the guys in our top 3 but not have broken them down for you. So we're going to start there. We'll close with trade possibilities, so don't go anywhere. Yes. Let's start with Khaman Maluach. Ben, 7'1", Duke freshman center, 19 on opening night. He obviously went to the national title game with Duke and was right there in that front court with Cooper Flagg.
Final Four, but yeah.
Final Four. I always say national title game. I feel like I've done that already about Maluach.
It's all good. It's all good.
He's raw, though. He's one of these guys that obviously grew up in Africa and didn't come to the game until a little later. Common thing, obviously, as the sport has grown over there. But, you can kind of see it in some of the characteristics of how he plays. Turnover rates high, block rates kind of relatively low for what you would think for a guy his size. Something that definitely jumps out if you watch him that I've seen referenced from draft analysts that I noticed when I took a look is he's not a great screener. Like there's just these little things about his game that are still coming along. But he's huge, he is athletic, and he's agile. He can move his feet. So
he's crazy
Physically, there's a lot to love, even if the other stuff is still coming around, and he's really young.
Yeah, man, I love this. I love this kid like a lot. If I were like, I've sung the praises kind of back and forth of like Carter Bryant. At first, I didn't like him, and now I like him. I'm looking for someone else to take over the reign of like who I want the Suns to get. This would be my guy at number 10, like sneak peek of who like we're gonna do top 3 guys. Super athletic, jumps out of the gym. Everything that you're talking about, like the little screener, like the tweener stuff, I don't think it's any, like we know he's not going to be an elite level shooter. That's probably not his game. But if you're talking about someone that I believe has in the future, when he develops a little bit, future defensive player of the year potential because of his athleticism, jump out of a gym. The dude is, if I'm not mistaken, 7'2" with like a 7'6" wingspan. I think that's the perfect, or at least fairly close, perfect option to Devin Booker and a lob threat. Someone who I know Sorber is a little bit more refined, and the other kid we talked about, Derek Queen, maybe a little bit more of a tweener. I think this guy really just is the definition of like a Rudy Gobert defensive player of the year caliber guy, but also with the lateral quickness to stay with little shiftier guys like DeAndre Ayton actually was able to do pretty well and get guys down to the hole. So because of the defensive presence and because of the athleticism and because you don't need to do a mic and drill to figure out how to catch a lob, I really, really like this guy, man. I I can't see him falling to 10, even though when I was looking up pre-draft stuff on the Ringer, they have him at 14. And I know those some people that you really like in terms of top prospects. So I'll let you speak. I filibustered there, but I like this guy.
I think that's where I wanted to go because any mock you look at, it's a low likelihood he gets to 10. But as we're going to talk about with trade possibilities, I don't think it's out of the question that the Suns could trade up if they really like somebody. It's not what I would prefer they do, but it's not out of the question. So maybe if he falls to 8 or 9, they could still do it. But the other thing, again, like you just said, looking at the big board side of this from draft analysts, I think almost all of the main ones right now, Ben, have Thomas Sorber, who we talked about yesterday, above him.
Would you say because he's a little bit more of a sure thing, like a little less of a question mark?
I don't know. I don't
like a little bit more refined.
He's older, so I guess there's but
he's kind of significantly older. Maluach is 18.
Yeah, and I think he's like a year. I think Sorber's like a year older. So yeah, for both being freshmen, that's pretty substantial.
I think Maluach. I think Sorber's 20, but either way, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
So I think that but it's just weird to me because
that's right, he's 19.
I think Sorber, is probably somebody where you could imagine him doing some of the stuff that bigs have to do in the modern NBA, catching the ball in the short roll and passing it out from there. Maybe putting the ball on the floor a little bit in those situations. A little bit of the stuff that Oso does, mixed in with that big wingspan and athleticism that Sorber has. So maybe it's just that the skill level is a little higher, would probably be my guess. But I think for what the Suns need, given, like you said, the defensive potential that he has and obviously the huge hole that they have at that position, I think Maluach actually checks those boxes better for this team. Let's get to Wolf because I do think we'll both talk about Maluach in the next segment. Yeah. Danny Wolf, Mark Stein and Jake Fisher reported on Tuesday as we were getting ready to plan who to talk to. We had to pivot. Who to talk about, we had to pivot because they reported that the Suns have been a team linked to Wolf. It could be a complete smokescreen. I have no idea, but because he popped up in the reporting, we said, hey, why not? 6'11", Michigan junior forward, went 2 years at Yale, transferred to Michigan this past season. He's going to be 21 on opening night, or he'll turn 21 this season at least. To me, this is like an and one basketball player. The way that the way that you don't know what I mean? Have you watched him? He plays like he's a Harlem Globetrotter or an and one mixtape player.
I mean, right? I've obviously grew up on and one, Professor, Hot Sauce, Escalade. I know what you're talking about, but that's just not what I thought you were going with.
The dude plays like a. I feel like we watched a different guy then if you're not following me, because that's the whole book on him right now is that he's a risk taker. He plays he's doing crazy passes, no look passes. He's jumping out and taking huge gambles on the defensive end to make a monster block at the last second. He's taking deep threes. Like he's kind of playing like it's playground hoops. And I don't know how that translates when you're talking about having to go up against NBA level athleticism, sophisticated, organized, structured basketball. When you watch how Oklahoma City and Indiana just played in this finals, I don't know if he can do that. And then as a separate offshoot of that, Ben, I don't know what he is if he scales down from that. What does it even look like for a dude who plays that way to reel it in? What is that like? What is he then?
Yeah, I see what you're saying now in terms of the and one mixtape stuff, because part of the reason why I'm like, is because I agree with you. He's not a very athletic guy. And I think defensively he has his deficiencies. One of the reasons why I do like him though, I just don't like him at 10. Like a top even 6 list of guys, I'm not so sure he would make that list at 10 because I think he's I think he's a decent risk for this team because of the potential liabilities defensively. But I like the fact that he can hit a 3-point shot. I like the fact that even at his size,
he's below average shooting this year.
I think he's someone though with a potential of being a decent 3-point shooter. He shot 33% from 3. So I like the idea of him potentially being a stretch 5. I don't project him into being like this is why I can't do him. I can't have him be like the 10 pick is I don't think he's going to be one of those high level Kristaps Porzingis 3-point shooters, but someone that I think can develop a respectable 3 ball. And yeah, defensively, man, I don't like it. I think laterally he's not super quick. It was, for me, the biggest thing that kind of jumped out of the frame for me was he's not super athletic, but he's pretty coordinated, especially with the basketball in his hand. I do like the fact that he can dribble the ball pretty well for a big guy.
Oh, of course. That's the whole sell on him.
Exactly. So, but I just the athleticism takes a really hard hit, and the Suns have enough of that. He's a playmaking
center.
Now.
He's somebody that is basically going to be. I mean, there's not really
a 100-pound
lighter.
100-pound lighter Jokic is what he plays like.
Sure. I mean, yeah, but the 100 pounds lighter means he's not a post player, which is where
exactly.
Jokic does most of his playmaking. So it's not even, there's not really a player like this in the NBA. There's a lot of players who played like this who failed. Alexei Pokusevski from the Thunder, if people remember him, who's kind of like a meme. But
I saw your tweet on
that's
him. That's
pretty comparable. The comp that I keep seeing in the draft guides that I've looked at is Hedo Turkoglu. Suns legend, obviously.
Suns legend. I was going to say Suns legend, Hedo Turkoglu.
Could Hedo Turkoglu play in the modern NBA? I don't think so. So I'm not really sure how that looks. I think it's really risky, and I would not I would not do this at all.
What if the Suns, because I know we're going to talk some trades, just if the Suns traded up from 29, what would make you comfortable selecting him? Or are you not comfortable selecting him at all?
I think with how barren the Suns roster is, I just don't think I'm interested in taking a chance on a guy like this. Almost. If he was there at 52, sure. Let's go for it.
It's the second round.
But I don't think. I just think that this is almost like a cherry on top kind of player. If you're a team that already has a core, you're like, wow, let's see if this kid can do something. This can't be like we just traded Kevin Durant. Hopefully he's makes this past 2 seasons of misery worthwhile. That's not what Danny Wolf is going to do.
Well, you can't select this guy at 10. I'm surprised that some people have him as high as he is. He is kind of fun to watch. This is just something really small. Because of the Michigan connection, are you worried that the Suns might reach for this guy at 10?
Or does it not with that?
Does it not matter to you?
I think it's much more likely that Jace Richardson would be the guy if they were thinking about things in that way than this guy.
Okay.
Let's talk about our top threes. I think one dude we just talked about may appear. Let's see if anyone else we've covered in the past does next. First, today's show brought to you by Open Phone. If you're running a business, you know every missed call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you had an urgent need, maybe for a plumber or a service provider. If the first person didn't answer, did you wait? No. You moved on. And that's why if you're a business, you need Open Phone. Open Phone is the #1 business phone system built to streamline and scale your customer communications, all from an app on your phone or computer. There's so much of this stuff that is these ladders of this button to that button to, hey, you have to go to this department, and it takes forever to even get to a person or know if your conversation's being received, but Open Phone lets you customize it. They have a shared inbox so that all of your staff can handle cases and questions and concerns from one place. They have an AI agent if you want to have something set up after hours, and much more. Open Phone, offering our listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/lockedonnba. That's openphone.com/lockedonnba. And if you have existing numbers from another service, Open Phone will port them over at no extra charge. Open Phone, no missed calls, no missed customers. All right, Ben, let's keep it rolling. Do you want to let's go 3-1, and I'll start us off because it's easy.
Yes. Yeah.
Khaman Maluach is my number 3. And
damn, man.
He is the top big on my board for the Suns, my Suns specific board. I'm not going to pretend like I've done enough homework to have an overall thing, but the guys that I think would make sense for what the Suns need, what the Suns want, what the Suns are, he's number 3 for me. He's ahead of Sorber, like I mentioned. But the reason I put him 3rd instead of where other people might have him is that I really just think, given the players that are available, who I'm going to get to in a second, I still want wings. And so Maluach is the guy that I would like the best from a big standpoint, but just positionally, that's why I put him 3rd.
Oh,
Who's
we're
your
going
number
back and
3?
forth. We're going back and forth here. God, dude, it's even at the last second. It's so close. I'm gonna go 3 here. I'm gonna go Carter Bryant. I've cooled on him a little bit, and here's why. Here's one of the reasons why I cooled on him at first, which was, God, he just didn't crack the rotation. Yes, a really good team, but he also didn't play very much in terms when they really needed him in the tournament. That tells me, did they trust him? And so I wonder if people are just falling in love with him as the height and the potential with him, but that's what I kind of fall in love with. The potential. A 6'8" guy, shot the 3 ball, the best in terms of Colin Murray Boyles and Cedric Coward, who Cedric Coward shot the 3 ball well, but he just didn't play enough for me to be able to put him ahead of Carter Bryant. So I like Bryant here. 39-inch vertical, a freak athlete in some ways. I think you could put him on the other team's potential second or third best player and it not be a problem. 6'11" wingspan, almost a 7-foot wingspan. So I really like this guy here. I'm going to put him at 3 though, because I really wonder why U of A couldn't trust him in some of those big spot scenarios coming off the bench. I just feel like, I know Booker at one point was off the bench as well, but not everyone is Devin Booker. So I'll go
To me,
there.
it's not even about the bench. If a guy comes off the bench and is really good, it doesn't matter to me. I just think he was very, very tentative as a player. And that's what makes me nervous about Carter Bryant, because and a lot of these guys do come off the bench, I guess, so maybe it is part of it. But you look at Marvin Williams, you look at Patrick Williams, these very unproven, even in college, guys who come out early and get drafted in the lottery. There's a track record there where they don't always turn into something on the offensive end, and that just makes me nervous. My number 2 is Cedric Coward, the guy you just mentioned. Yeah, he only played 6 games of top division or top, conference NCAA basketball. He had a shoulder injury, but he plays bigger than his 6'6" height is. He has a huge frame, wide shoulders, huge wingspan. He's big and physical. He just dominates the game with his athleticism and his size. He's not actually, I wouldn't say athleticism. He's not super explosive, but definitely his size. And he can shoot already. So to me, if you're talking about, okay, he's just a really good 3-and-D type of player, that's already a starter in the NBA. That's already a guy that I feel really good about coming away from part of the Kevin Durant package with and building the next good Suns team with. If he can become more than that, and I hesitate to even give the comps of guys who you could compare him to if you wanted to get really excited, Kawhi, etc. Like you're talking about, even if he's not even anywhere near Kawhi Leonard, of course, the potential is obviously there with some of these late bloomers to really be something impactful on the offensive end. And I see enough from him to potentially be that as well. What do you got for number 2?
Number 2, Colin Murray Boyles, elite defender. I think this guy, especially with a 7-foot wingspan, is going to be awesome. And I'm willing to deal with the fact that he wasn't a great 3-point shooter. He shot 35% of them in college. But man, dude, the guy, I think this kid, especially off the dribble, will be able to take guys to the rim. He scored 16 points a game with South Carolina. He was their lead guy. He has really grown on me recently. But I think the biggest thing is I believe he's going to be able to guard 1 through 4 pretty effectively. And he's a high floor guy to me that I think will get his points at the rim, slashing, maybe again, not the 3-ball thing that I really want, but also the age discrepancy between Colin Murray Boyles and Cedric Coward is what kind of changed those two for me. Cedric Coward being 22-year-old, you don't discriminate. I do when it comes to age in terms of my basketball players. So I'll take Colin Murray Boyles here.
Yeah, so he's my number 1, so I'll just jump into him.
Wanted to let you go a little bit more into him. I know he's your number 1 guy.
I think that I don't think he's actually a terribly high floor, to be honest. I think that there actually is a chance that because if he can't shoot and he's not the best defender in the draft outside of Cooper Flagg or something for a forward, then he probably can't play. He has to be able to do something on the offensive end. And, the Draymond comparisons get thrown around. Okay, cool. So there's another pathway. Become the best wing passer of your generation or whatever. Be the team's point guard. Okay, I don't know if he's going to be able to do that. So, there's other comps though, like Grant Williams couldn't shoot it in college, had a very, very similar frame and style. He basically just developed into that, and he became somebody who could play small ball center, somebody that you could, put in a rotation for a title team. And I know they didn't win the title when he was on the team, but that's the idea. So I just think he impacts the game with his physicality at such an elite level, and the Suns just do not have enough of that. They basically have one dude who I would say does that on the whole roster right now, and it's Ryan Dunn. And that is
maybe Dylan Brooks. Maybe.
Oh, yeah, Dylan Brooks. I forget he's on the team. He does that for sure. And but that's the last thing I actually wanted to say with Coward and Murray Boyles here, and any wing we're talking about, Carter Bryant could fit in too. I actually think by acquiring Dylan Brooks here, the Suns have given themselves a little bit more patience with a wing that they draft, because they don't have to thrust him into a too big of a role right away. He's probably not going to start. I think Brooks and Dunn are going to start. And so that makes me feel better that you could bring somebody like him along a little bit more slowly. So yeah, the elite defensive potential, creating blocks and steals, switchability, that all is really tantalizing to me. And if you watch some of the clips of him, really self-aware dude, which I think is huge for somebody with his limitations, to be able to say what I am in the NBA and how do I maximize that, rather than saying like, I kind of still want to score. So I think that goes a long way. Who's your number one?
Well, I just want to say, just to add on this, I wasn't sure if you were going to say this or not. This dude's going to be a beast in the post. I think even at 6'7", big body frame, 7-foot wingspan, he's going to be fun down low. Physical player as well is another reason why I really liked him. But number one, man, Maluach for sure. I'm 95% sure I'm saying his name correctly. I literally looked it up before this, but I love the kid's athleticism, man. There are throws from the logo, it feels like, and off target, and he's ripping him back behind his head and dunking it. That is a sort of athleticism that you cannot teach. And at 7 foot, it is actually helpful, where like Colin Murray Boyles might be uber athletic, but if he can't shoot, he's not big enough to bang with the guys down low. Why I like Maluach is because he is so freakishly athletic. He's going to impact the game around the rim. I think I found something where it's like 60, 70% of his points came at the rim. Good finisher. I think the touch, at least around the rim, is maybe a little rough, but he's going to make his imprint on the NBA. And I think he is like starting for the Suns over Nick Richards probably right away. At least I would feel that way, but even more so to add a defender that if he can just learn to be a little bit more disciplined in terms of the blocks category, because I know that can get a little spotty at times. He can be someone that could be a defensive anchor for the Suns at the center position that I don't believe we've ever had. Add that sort of athleticism at 7 foot. You don't get that every year. I know he's raw. I know there's a potential that he could bust because maybe the athleticism doesn't translate. Maybe he's not super great defensively like I think he's going to be. But I mean, man, dude, if I was grading this guy's athleticism on a 1 to 5, it'd be a 6. And then defensively, I think projecting it like a 4.
Well, tell me what you mean by that. You keep talking about his athleticism. Can you elaborate? Because like when guys are that big, they don't exactly jump out of the gym because they're so their frame is kind of awkward in a way. Like Rudy Gobert, he's athletic in a way that's unusual for somebody his size, but he's not competitive. He's not athletic compared to Jalen Green. So be more specific with athleticism, because I'm not sure I see that part of it the same exact way.
You don't see I think this is someone that Devin Booker has never had the ability to be a lob threat around the rim. Throw the ball near the basket, he is going to catch it and out jump his opponent to get the ball. That's what I mean by that.
I guess to me it's just because he's 7'2".
7'2", and he jumps out of the rim. And I'm telling you, man, I don't know how much you have watched this guy, but the athleticism jumps off the board with the ability to catch these lobs and defensively rebounding the basketball too. When it becomes a 7-footer versus a 7-footer for a rebound and it's a dogfight, the more athletic guy is going to win. And I think that is where you get cheaper possessions and cheaper points that I think the Suns need to come by because last year everything was so difficult. He can make it easier around the rim for the Suns team, especially physically wise. Part of the reason why I like Colin Murray-Boyles is because of the physicality, and I think he is going to be that guy who's going to be hell to bang with down low. So I'm really high on him, man. I really like this kid.
3 offensive rebounds a game for sure is going to be hugely helpful for any team, but the Suns haven't had that. As the league has trended more in that direction, the Suns have given up those extra possessions far too often. Let's close with a quick segment on trade possibilities. We already know one team is interested potentially in trading up, and we already heard from about one player that the Suns might like who doesn't really seem like a player at 10 or 29. We'll get there next. First, today's show is brought to you by Wayfair. There's nothing like stepping into your own outdoor space and feeling like you've escaped to a personal oasis. If you're wanting to update your patio this season, Wayfair has made it super easy to turn it into a space that feels like yours, comfortable, stylish, and ready for summer. Wayfair has everything you need to level up your outdoor space: conversation sets, outdoor bars, fire pits, hot tubs, gazebos, and yes, even the perfect string lights to set the vibe. It's like giving your backyard that resort feel without the resort price tag. We moved into this place and we have some nice little outdoor lights along the walkways already, but that's just the starting point. We don't have a lot of shade out there. We don't have a lot of furniture, so we're definitely going to have to get to it. Unfortunately, Phoenix, it's opposite, as everybody listening probably knows. The summer's not really the time, but we'll be looking as we get closer to fall. Don't wait. Make your outdoor space your dream oasis today with Wayfair and enjoy it all summer long. Head to wayfair.com right now and shop their huge outdoor selection. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair. Every style, every home. All righty, let's keep it rolling here, Ben. Really part 3 of 6 of our amazing little draft day preview for everybody here. So trade options. I don't know if you have any, but I just wanted to start with what we've heard in the grapevine of the reporting today on Tuesday as we're about 24 hours out from draft time. Oklahoma City. Well, go for it. Did you have something?
Yes, I want to get something out of the way with you right now.
Okay.
This was because the Nets have so many picks, and the Nets they have 5 picks now. Is there a world where you could swindle the Nets into taking Bradley Beal? I think I know your answer on this, but I feel like it should be asked. Could you swindle the Nets in taking Bradley Beal and the 10th overall pick and be able to swing back a player, I think 2 is crazy, and get a first back from them? It's not a Bradley Beal trade show, but it is a draft pick, and it's the Suns' number 10 draft pick. Would you do that? I know that's something that's been circulating on the old Twitter streets.
Okay, so the Nets have the 8th pick, which is higher than the Suns, so that probably wouldn't be involved. The other ones that they have are 19, 22, 26, and 27. That's not high enough for me to do it. If it was a different team, if the Hawks loved Bradley Beal before they just got Kristaps Porzingis, I would think about it because they're at 13, for instance. Or 12, like we've been talking about with, or like people have been talking about with Beal as a possibility dating all the way back to December. So those, I think so, because you could maybe still get some of the players we've been talking about that they allegedly like in that range, Carter Bryant or Derek Queen or whatever. 19, not high enough. So I would say no to that. And plus, I don't think that there's really a lot of players on this roster on the Nets roster that would be negative to me. That they don't really have anybody to include. They don't have a roster because they have so much cap space. It's really Claxton and Cam, and at that point, you're probably thinking the Suns have to add more to make that happen because those guys are good. They're not players you just dump Bradley Beal for. They're players the Nets will want actual assets back for. So I just don't really see it from either side, honestly.
Oh, I just don't see it from the Nets side. If you got Cam Johnson, Nick Claxton, the 22nd overall pick back for Bradley Beal,
that's not a trade that's going to happen. Those players could get first-round picks back for themselves. So if you throw a trade to me that's impossibly good, of course I would agree with you, but that's not rational. That's not what's going to happen.
I know it's not rational, but I know you are seeing the online speculatory, what could the Suns do to potentially get Cam Johnson and get rid of Bradley Beal.
In this particular case, I didn't see that. So
you didn't? I was about ready to send it
with it. But,
no, it's okay. I don't mean to make it that part. I would agree with you. I don't think there's any world where it works in any sense. But outside of that, I'll let you continue.
No, so I said OKC. They have 15 and 24. That's on the verge of where I would do the same thing. They seem to be interested in moving up, although something tells me that if that's out there, it's either not true at all or it's very specifically that they already have a team and it may not matter if the Suns, hey, we heard I don't even know if it's an option. But it's the type of thing that I think makes sense. There's a few teams we've talked about here that could work in this range. Atlanta had 13 and 22. Now Brooklyn has 22. Oklahoma City, Brooklyn, I think maybe if you take the Beal nonsense out of it, and maybe I don't know. I don't really think that makes sense either. So trading back is maybe just not going to be an option. How would you feel about, though, trading back if it wasn't another pick this year? Like, what if, I don't know, like Memphis, they're trying to kind of reset their team. They're at 16. Yeah. What if they said you can have 16 this year and then like a future first? Less payoff now, but
like
it's
Orlando's
still
pick,
equal
right?
value.
Like Orlando's first round pick that they just got. Maybe they send you that. I don't know if they would send you your first round pick, but either way, right? It doesn't really matter.
It'd be nice if the Suns could get their 2026 back. I'd do that in a heartbeat.
Exactly. Instant gratification tells me no, but the smart part of my brain is saying I need swings at the bat. So you know what? I would do that. If the Suns got back a first, now it's got to be a first, man. I'm not doing these second round picks.
No.
If I got a first round pick for next year from, it doesn't matter what team, to move up, but I also get a pick this year, depending how far it is back. So I don't want to pick at 25. If it's in the top 20, I would do it. That's a really interesting thought exercise that you just brought out. Would you?
That's more likely. I talked about that trade a couple years back where Indiana moved back and Washington moved up, and it was for Bilal Coulibaly, and they gave up like a couple seconds. It was just one. I think it was from 8 to 7. Mm-hmm. And it was just for a couple future second round picks. Like these whole things where you look at the draft board and you're like, all right, this team has multiple firsts. They're going to trade up. Like that stuff just doesn't really happen. It's like that happened with, I think, Doug McDermott and Gary Harris that one year. There's like very few times where you can actually point to those trades happening. Okay. More often it's the future stuff that gets dealt. So I would do it. Of course, it just depends. I think top 20 is a good benchmark for it. And that brings us to the last thing that I want to hit on, because there will be more trade talk, I think, in the number 29 pick episode and less prospect talk, because we've already covered a lot of those guys. So we'll probably end the trade stuff for this episode here after I mention this, which is that Gambo reported on Tuesday, as he's starting to give us some names after just getting off the marathon KD stuff, that he thinks that they like Asa Newell from Georgia. And that's not a player you would take at 10. And it's also probably, I mean, maybe, I don't know. It's probably not a player who will be there at 29.
No.
So that kind of got my gears turning a little bit on, like, that seems like a player that maybe they would be interested in if they thought they at least had the potential to move back or move up from 29 or whatever. So I don't have an idea there because I don't really know how the draft board's going to fall on Wednesday night.
That's crazy.
But just to get people's minds kind of thinking that way, that caught my attention.
Well, I think you have to... Everyone makes it so easy to think that you could just package 2 second-round picks and the 29th overall pick and move up 5 spots. You're talking about packaging a couple of picks and moving up to 26, maybe 20. Like, you're trying to hop someone that also likes Asa Newell. I would agree with you. I think at that point you'd be trading back from 10 to like 18 to maybe get this guy. But if he fell to 29, I think you and I would both agree that's pretty good value there for a guy like Asa Newell.
In the Athletics' most recent mock draft on Tuesday, he was mocked 20th to the Miami Heat. He's a very energy and physicality-based player. We haven't done a ton of homework, at least I haven't. But, I'm reading the blurb right here, and it's like he's a tweener. He's not super long. He's not very skilled, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, I don't really know.
He can't shoot. He can't pass. Can't dribble.
But he kind of just willed his way into 15 and 7 as a freshman. So it's like there's something there. I don't know what it is. He's 6'9". That's nice, but probably has to play center if he can't shoot. So we'll have to see. I just was not expecting to see him pop up on anybody's list with the Suns, and he did. So food for thought. That'll wrap us up here. Catch the number 29 pick episode in this feed. It'll go up at the same time, and we'll move over there now to get you ready for draft night.